Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel. And in this video we're going to be talking about the lightest shoes that you can get right now. And there hasn't been a lot of super light and minimal shoes as of lately. A lot of shoes I feel like are disregarding weight and making support their priority, which I don't think is a huge deal, but you know, I do prefer my ball shoes to be very light and minimal. And the shoes on this list are very light and minimal, but not only that, but they're also all good performers. I didn't really include shoes that like weren't very good, because I mean, like if you look at cheap shoes like from Nike, from Under Armour, like if it's super cheap, like 70-80 bucks, it's usually going to be super light because it's like that cheap light, you know. They're using very cheap materials, and sometimes they're really good performers. I'm not saying they're all bad, but sometimes they're also not very nice. So I'm just telling you guys, the shoes on this list are very good performers. And of course there are some shoes that are available that aren't on this list that are a little bit lighter as well, but in my opinion weren't good performers. So anyways, if you guys do want to get any of these shoes, I'll leave a link in the description box. But let's get started off with number 8, and we got the PG4 coming in at 12.1 ounces. I absolutely love that shoe. I've been playing with that shoe outdoors because I mean, my knees and my feet can't take too much of a beating right now, and the cushioning system is awesome in that shoe. It's one of my favorites of all time, I would say. I absolutely love that full-length air stroll unit. And then the softer foam feels great. The upper overall is super minimal as well. The shroud doesn't really help all too much. Like, it makes the overall upper material feel a little bit thicker than I think it should, but you know, it's not a huge deal. And 12.1 ounces is actually on the lighter side of things. 12.5 ounces is around average for my shoes. So 12.1 ounces is definitely lighter than average. And next, coming in at number 7, we got the KD13s, which actually weighs the same as the PG4. So it's 12.1 ounces. Of course, from each shoe, even the left and the right pair can be a little bit different, but for the most part they're very similar in weight. The material on that shoe is very minimal and super thin, so I really like that about the shoe. The heel part feels a little chunky, I would say. I wish the rubber didn't come up as much, but it's not a huge deal. And also the full length zoom swivel feels great. The traction is super nice and support is really good in that shoe. So the KD13, very supportive and very light feeling shoe. Alright, moving on to number 6, we got the Curry 7s coming in at 11.82 ounces. And yeah, I mean, Currys in his entire line have always been super duper light and super minimal. I would say besides, I guess, the Curry 1. The Curry 1 I feel like might be the heaviest, and then the Curry 7 might be the second heaviest actually, because they're using like thicker materials, like it's like that mesh. The Curry 6 and like all the other shoes use a super duper thin material. But anyways, the Curry 7 is a phenomenal shoe. You know, great traction. The cushion was not that bad. Heel was pretty nice. I would say there's a little bit of compression, and if you do heel strikes, the impact protection is actually not that bad. The forefoot gets a lot thinner and a lot stiffer. I did say the materials were thick compared to like the other Currys, but comparing it to like an average shoe, it's actually very thin. So as far as the thickness goes, I would say it's between like the KD13 and the PG4. And I really like playing in that shoe. You know, it's just a shoe that you don't have to worry about, you know. And if you want absolute responsiveness, because the cushion obviously isn't as nice as the PG4 and the KD13, but I would say it's a little bit more responsive, then the Curry 7 is a great option. All right, moving on to number 5, we got the Zoom Freak 2 coming in at 11.57 ounces. The traction was good. The cushioning wasn't bad. I mean, the heel was pretty bad. There is a forefoot zoom unit, which feels great. You know, feels like the PG3, and the material quality is pretty nice. And not only that, the material is overall super thin, conforms to your foot very well. So in the toe box and also on the lateral medial side, the material is super thin, but in the tongue there's a good amount of padding, as well as like in the ankle area. So if you like to have a little bit more padding and you like to feel a little bit more cozy, I feel like the Zoom Freak 2 is a pretty good option. I don't know why this shoe is so damn light, especially comparing it to like the KD13 and the Curry 7, but I guess by weight it is a little bit lighter. But yeah, the Zoom Freak 2 is also a great shoe if you want to feel very quick and light on your feet. All right, moving on to number 5 is the KD5 Low, coming in at 11.25 ounces, which is crazy because if you weigh the KD5 is like 14.7 ounces or something like that, which is way heavier than Low. So the KD5 Low, they did a good job of shedding a lot of the weight off, and that shoe is awesome. I really like playing in that shoe. The traction is great. The cushion is very soft. I wouldn't say it's bouncy, but it's soft, and it has really good impact protection. The upper, I would say it's the best quality on this entire list, and it's also pretty damn thin. You know, it's a very minimal feeling upper as well. Great looking shoe also in my opinion. Ventilation is also really good. You know, you got the ventilation holes in the toe cap, and not only that, it's a pretty cheap shoe. It's like 110, 120 bucks right now on Famuji. So the KD5 Low is a great option. All right, moving on to number 3, we got the Renew Elevate coming in at 10.93 ounces. This shoe is insanely cheap. It's only 80 bucks, and I really like playing in that shoe. The traction is great. The cushion is also super nice, especially in the heel, as well as in the forefoot. There's a little bit of bounce, but the heel, there's a good amount of bounce, a good amount of compression. Court feel is still good, and impact protection is great. The materials are also thin and very, very well ventilated. They're using like a mesh material throughout the entire upper, and support was not an issue at all in that shoe. So the Renew Elevate, if you want to check it out, you should definitely go ahead and check it out. All right, moving on to number 2, we got the AllStar Pro BB Low by Converse, and it's coming in at 10.05 ounces. Crazy light shoe. The material is literally one layer thin. You can literally see inside the shoe because the actual like thread of the material is kind of spaced out. It's a drop-in midsole as well, and it's Nike's technology. You know, Nike owns Converse. It's using React foam, which is a very low density foam, very light cushioning setup, and I would say it's the most minimal feeling shoe on this list. The most. If you want to feel like you're basically playing barefoot, this is the shoe to get. And of course, I mean, this is only number 2, but that's only by weight, and weight isn't as important. Like if there was foam that like protruded out a lot and like it was like bulky but still lightweight, it obviously wouldn't feel as good as a shoe like the AllStar Pro BB, which is literally streamlined exactly to the shape of your foot, and you're just super low to the ground, and the material, like I said, is super thin. You're not really gonna find another shoe like this if you want a super minimal shoe. Now moving on to number 1, we got the KD5 8 coming in at 10.02 ounces. So it was only like 0.03 ounces lighter than the AllStar Pro BB. The material is ridiculously thin in that shoe, especially in the forefoot area. Renew foam is also a low density foam, making the shoe overall very light, and I still don't know how it's lighter than the AllStar Pro BB, or like basically the same weight as the AllStar Pro BB. But anyways, yeah, it's a very light feeling shoe. I would say support isn't the best. In my review, I said I didn't really have any issues. I feel my foot going out of the footbed just a little bit, or just like my foot stretching the material a little bit, because there's a little bit of a lateral counter, like the outsole comes up a little bit, but you know, the material is just so thin that it's just not super supportive, you know. And then the Renew Elevate, you know, you got that swoosh there on the lateral side, as well as the rubber outsole and the foam coming up. And I am a lighter guy, so if you're on the heavier side of things, or I guess just like normal weight, you should probably watch out, especially if you do a lot of lateral movements and like cuts. But other than that, the cushioning is nice, very light and very minimal feeling shoe. The ventilation is good, and the traction is phenomenal. Also, not to mention, the price is very good. It's only 90 bucks. So anyways, that about concludes this video. If you guys want to get any of these shoes, I'll try to leave a link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.